6:20 a.m. here in Trinidad and Tobago. It's the Now Morning Show here on TTT. I am Natalie Ligor. And in today's Spotlight is the Minister of Transport and Works, the Senator Rohan Sinanan. Minister, before going any further, is it Works and Transport or Transport and Works?
Works and Transport.
Works and Transport.
Good morning to you, Natalie, and good morning to your viewers, and good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning to your host and the entire cast at TTT.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, Minister, let us start with the changes made on the Solomon Hochoy Highway, because I'm already hearing the Taxi Network Association complaining that it's favoring the bus drivers and not the taxis. What are the changes made and why?
Okay, Natalie, the changes are simple changes. There's the new, well, I shouldn't say the new dispensation of the route. This have been going on for the last 3 years, although on an experimental basis. And I say experimental because we had the signs and so up and we were working with the TTPS. However, the TTPS have asked us to now put it into law. The simple change is that you cannot, taxi drivers and private cars, especially those for hire, who are the main culprits of this move, were actually using the shoulder of the highway, coming all the way onto the ramp, bypassing the queue of traffic. Some of them dropping off passengers, picking up passengers on the ramp, and then just crossing the overpass and going back onto the highway. Now, what that was causing for the TTPS is a serious queue and unnecessary delay on the free flow of traffic. So they have asked us to implement it now fully into law, that you cannot do that. Now, I understand the position of the taxi drivers. However, at the Ministry of Works and Transport, we are responsible for not only the maintenance of road, but also the safety of road and the free flow of traffic. And it is not correct to have people stopping on a ramp to drop off passengers and to take up passengers while the traffic has to keep moving. And then a lot of people were just using that opportunity to cut the line by using the shoulder, getting onto the ramp, coming back down on the other side, and then creating a bottleneck again on the highway. So this is just one method to control the traffic. We understand that I understand the plight of the taxi drivers, because we did meet with them at one of the sessions at the ministry. They expressed their concern. We asked them that we will find a way to work with them on this, but the safety and the free flow of traffic must take priority over, some level of inconvenience that they said that they may have to go through, because now they have to actually swing left. If they come up the ramp, they will have to swing left, use the roundabout, and then come back on the highway.
All right, Minister, just for clarification, you keep talking about the ramp, but where exactly are you speaking? Because my understanding was...
We're just talking about the ramps from Chase Village, Monroe Road, and the Couva interchange. So these are just these 3 or 4 ramps that when you're coming from San Fernando to Port of Spain, that you cross. It's not the Chaguanas, because the Chaguanas Ramp is closed off. So these are the ramps that you use to get into places like Chase Village, Couva, Monroe Road, and the Caroni. These are these ramps that you use to actually cross from the southbound to the northbound side of the highway. So but what we had is you have these taxi drivers.
Sorry, Minister. We've also seen, especially with the Chaguanas Ramp, with it being closed off, that it has created traffic as well, because especially like in the Christmas season where, Chaguanas is a hot mess where traffic is concerned. Right. I live there, so I see it, I experience it, I live it. That, probably if that ramp was open, it would have eased up the traffic. So can't it work both ways?
No, it can't. The reason why the ramp was closed off a long time ago is because the ramp, although it would have eased the traffic for some of the commuters, it created a bigger bottleneck for a lot more. Remember, the traffic studies is not just done ad hocly, where the minister or the permanent secretary will get up and say, look, close this or close that. They do the traffic flow, they do the traffic studies by the professional engineers, the traffic engineers at the ministry. And they're the ones who come up with the traffic plans and so on. They work with the TTPS and the different authorities to ensure that, with the limited resources, the challenges you have, that you can get the best flow of traffic. We have to remember that Chaguanas have developed over the last 15 to 20 years into a major commercial hub. The road infrastructure in Chaguanas really was not designed for all this amount of malls and shopping centers and even the amount of residential developments that have taken place in Chaguanas over the last 20 years. So the road network in Chaguanas have been challenged. And I think it was sometime maybe 8 years ago so that the decision was taken to close off the ramp based on this traffic study to have a much smoother flow. But I mean, if you look at what is happening now, you will think that, look, if we open that, it will be easier. The experts are telling us at this point in time, no. I have actually asked them to revisit the whole situation there, do another simulation of the traffic and see if probably anything have changed. We are looking at a couple of different projects in Chaguanas, but I can tell you it's going to be very, very expensive for us to, bring any ease to that traffic in Chaguanas, because what we're looking at is really basically two overpass. One at the Brentwood area and one lower down closer to where the extra foods and all those malls and so. But that is a very expensive long-term project.
Understood. But, so, Minister, I definitely agree with you where the development of Chaguanas is concerned and the road network probably not being sufficient, for the amount of activities and people that are in Chaguanas at this time. But if these ramps are closed off, I mean, they aren't just used for taxi drivers or private hire. I mean, the roads are used in such a way. Are there going to be other routes that people can use for people who may have to go that route, may have to use those road networks? How will it work going forward?
No. What is closed off is the crossing of the bridge. Not much people would do that, because if you go on the ramp, to go either left or right. You wouldn't take the ramp just to cross the bridge, because when you cross the bridge, you can only come back down on the highway. So we got some calls yesterday. As a matter of fact, the engineer at the traffic management division, he sent me the amount of compliments he got from the people who would use it, because this is a big inconvenience to most of the people who would use it, because you have taxi drivers actually bypassing, stopping on the bridge to drop and take off passengers. So the route is not closed off to the public who actually use it for what it was designed for. It is blocked off for those who just want to cross the bridge, come up the interchange, come up the ramp, drop off and pick up somebody and go back down on the ramp and create a bottleneck on the other side. So it is not like Chaguanas where we have closed off the ramp completely. It is just closed off for those who want to cross the bridge. And I mean, the main persons who that would affect, I agree, would be the traffic, the taxi drivers and the PH drivers who are, the ones suspected of doing the wrong thing there. Because you're not supposed to stop on a freeway like that to take up and drop off passengers, because once you do that, you actually block off the flow of traffic. And that is not what the ramp was designed for. So we have created the opportunity where they have to swing left, take the roundabout, and then come back onto the highway if they need to do that. Obviously, they are thinking, well, that may take another 5 minutes of their time. But rather than do that, it's easier to just block off the ramp and drop and take off passengers. We can't allow that.
Yeah. And Minister, one of the other things I wanted to speak with you about, thank you for the information on that, is licensing office and some of the services that it offers. That I know that the government has given us an extension for the renewal of DPs. What other services, have we gotten extensions on?
Basically, all the services that license office will offer, including the inspections, transfers, and so. Now, running an agency like the license office in a pandemic, it's probably one of the most challenging departments that we have, because you have thousands of people trying to get to these areas to get services done on a daily basis. Now, we have instituted the appointment system. Now, the appointment system is not the perfect system because, again, you have thousands of people trying to get in. And the reason for the appointment is to limit the amount of people coming to the offices on a daily basis. So we are almost fully booked for the next 2 months. And that is why sometimes when you try to log on, you will not get an appointment within 2 months because we don't extend it beyond 2 months. What we are hoping now with this extension, we're working with the new driver's permit and using the technology, we have really started to digitize license office to get most of the services done online. So we're hoping that by the end of this period, a lot of the renewals and so could be done online to help us with that, the queue system that we have. So it is a challenge to run the office during a pandemic, but we are very happy that the license office could have remained open. And we have seen more people during this pandemic than we would have seen on a normal year at the license office. And that would have shown up significantly on the revenue side of license office, where we have more people coming to renew permits, more people actually complying with the law now that you have the things like the demerit point system and so in place, which have worked perfectly for road safety and so in Trinidad and Tobago.
Now, Minister, I know normally if your license has been expired for a year or more, that you normally have to start from scratch. Will that still apply even in the pandemic, or because of the delays, we'll still get that blight?
No, it's not a year or more. It's a much longer period than that. But I know at license office, they will look at each case on an individual basis, and they will suggest, because there's some people who have not renewed their permit for 20 years. And I don't think they could use the pandemic as an excuse for that. So the license office, they have been trained to look at each case, the transport commissioner, and deal with it on a case-by-case basis.
So considering that
we're for 1 year, definitely no, you don't have to go through anything, because we are going through the pandemic for the last 2 years, and there are some people who just could not renew their permits. And so, again, the transformation at license office will bring us to the point where once your information have been verified and validated on the database, because we are putting everything now on an active database. The days of going to license office just to renew a permit and so will soon be over, where you'll be able to stay at home, stay at your office, and actually renew your permits and so with a Zoom interview and things like that. That is actually where we're hoping. We should have been there already. Unfortunately, the pandemic would have pushed us back, but we are getting to that point where you will only go to license office if you have a problem to verify.
Well, Minister, I am one of those people who fall into the category of being in the thousands who need a renewal, and I tried the online system, but it keeps telling me that I'm having an issue with my DPP number. I took the time off to go down to licensing office, and I was told that I have to go through all the trials before I can book an appointment, because I went to see, well, if I could speak to somebody about the issue. And the guard at the front told me that appointments are only Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now, I am one of the 1 in a million people who fall into the category of almost being unable to have an appointment on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday because of my dialysis schedule. How do you treat with situations like that? And
so we do have communication desks, and they will make alternative arrangements for you. You did mention that to me. I spoke to the transport commissioner on it, and license office will contact you, because you are a case that again the officers are trained to deal with on a case-by-case basis, because we do have citizens who are not in a position to access the service right now, and their driver's permit and their transactions are very critical for them. So that is why we have the communication department who will deal with it on a case-by-case. We have a issue now with Princess Town, where we have to close the office for a week because of we got a dose of the COVID down there, and that is a very small office. So what we would have done in that case is we would have used the week in March to reschedule all the appointments. However, if there's anybody who has an emergency or something that has to be done, again, they can contact the office, and they deal with it on a case-by-case basis based on the challenge that the person will have. So what we're trying to do is to change the culture at license office. We have made significant progress. I must admit there's still a long way to go because it's a culture change for the staff as well, where license office must recognize they're offering a service. And when you're offering a service, the service of that service have to complement what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that is really where we are with license office.
Minister, I'm out of time, but just my final question. I know there are budgetary constraints, but I have to tell you that especially within Port of Spain, Chaguanas as well, but I mean, it's the capital. We're having a lot of potholes all over the place, and I don't know if there are plans to address them. What can you tell us?
All right. This is a sticking point for me because whenever somebody goes into a pothole, whenever somebody, have that challenge with a pothole, the first person they would blame is the Minister of Works. Unfortunately.
I know. And I know sometimes that it's the corporation that's in charge of these things, but, as I had you on the phone, I decided to ask.
The entire Port of Spain does not fall on the Ministry of Works. All the streets in Port of Spain falls under the City Corporation. Now, I don't think that is an excuse for the citizens that this doesn't fall under me and this doesn't fall under me, because when the citizens vote in a government, they vote in a government for services. We have been trying to get some attention to basically a road agency where we can look at all the roads falling under one agency, so that we could run away from that. But what we're doing in the interim is that we are working with the corporations. We have actually put out a program where we will actually give them the material free of charge. The Ministry of Works, that is, they have a lot of teams to do road patching. Unfortunately, you keep hearing from the corporations that we don't have money for material. So we have decided to give them the material. We will buy the material because we're getting blamed for it in any case, and bring them on board so that if we can get 5 teams from every corporation, and you have 14 corporations, and you have WASA that should have about 15 or 20 teams, we can really make a dent into the potholes, because 90% of the potholes on our roads are caused by WASA leaks. WASA is supposed to reinstate the road once they complete the repairs to the leak. We have recognized that is not happening for several reasons. So we're working with WASA now, working with the regional corporations, to get them on board with us, to bring out their teams. We will help them with the material just to do the patching. And we feel once that program gets going, we should be able to see a massive improvement together with the rehabilitation that is in a normal program under the pure unit, under the highways unit, where we do spot patching and repaving and so. But
Minister,
really
quickly,
and truly, the challenge for us is the potholes.
Quickly, do we know when this is going to be able to get started?
We have actually started the project in December, but I must admit we have been having a little challenge with getting bitumen into the country, again, because of the pandemic and because of the big demand for bitumen now. So we are working on that with the Ministry of Energy and the different ministries, but the program has started. We have some of them have started to take material from us, and we are pushing them to come on board with us. So we have our teams every day going out, but our teams are on our roads. That will not include Port of Spain, Chaguanas, because the Chaguanas Borough is responsible for all the secondary roads in Chaguanas, where there is a really big challenge going forward. But we are working with them. The Ministry of Finance have given us some money to do some secondary roads, which doesn't fall under us. And we are hoping to roll out in places like, the Camden Road in Couva, which is really ridiculous, but it's a road that, I don't think the corporation can afford to do. The Minister of Finance have made it available for us. Some of the back roads in Chaguanas, where you have heavy traffic, we are going to do some work there. And that is what we're hoping. These programs will help us as we roll them out this year.
All right, Minister, thank you so much for sharing with us this morning. Always a pleasure speaking to you, and continue the work that you're doing.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're most welcome.